Brian Rob, J. King, and Sam Packard present Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. Oh yeah! Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle, Boston Celtics, Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. And a 19. Jalen Brown, D. White, Crazy Joe. Steel Bottle, Steel Bottle. With Tatum coming back. Steel Bottle. Oh yeah! Come on, Mom. Don't knock out. I want some wings. Don't get the next generation.
Let's go, your family, Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Your family, Celtics. Let's go.
What up? It's me, J. King from The Athletic, here with Brian Robb from MassLive.com. Together, we are 2/3 of the greatest Celtics podcast ever. That is still potable. Today is a Patreon production, which means unless you're listening to it live, then the only way you can watch it is on patreon.com/stillpotable. Sign up there. You'll be able to listen to us 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. We also have 2 free shows. Well, 2 of those shows are free shows on the CLNS Media Network. B-Rob, it's after the All-Star break. Celtics are gearing up for the playoffs. And it's time, I think, for a still potable 6-pack where we draft the 6 most important things for the Celtics after the All-Star break. I think we probably agree on the first pick here, but I'll give you the first pick.
Wow.
I will punt the first pick to you, and congrats, man. Congrats.
I mean, we all know where this is going. On Thursday, something big is going to happen. We're going to figure out who they're going to sign to a 10-day contract for the 14th, 15th on the rosters. But no, we'll save that for later on. But we'll go to this Jason Tatum guy.
Yeah, pretty important.
Pretty important. We'll apparently be learning more about this, Jay, in the weeks to come via this NBC documentary that may be coming to a close on March 1st, potentially, if you believe in the schedule gods and so the TV gods coming together on that one. But yeah, this return thing for Jason Tatum looks like it's moving very much in the right direction. We're going to find out a lot more, I feel like, in the next couple of weeks as far as the ramp up goes for it. But without a doubt, assuming he does get back on the floor, how he's integrated, what type of limitations are on him from a minute standpoint, from a role standpoint, from a physical standpoint, all that stuff will be pretty important, but a very good problem to have if you're Joe Mazzulla and entering the final 6 to 8 weeks of the regular season. So this is not maybe the top pick in the whole. If we did a 6-pack on the league, Jay, this might be the top pick.
Yeah, I think it probably would, right?
Certainly,
there can't
no one
be
of this caliber has
much more important than one of the teams that has played like a contender so far, adding a first-team All-NBA guy. And what that looks like, when that comes, everything that comes with it. How does it get more important than that?
Right.
I
Pretty much it.
Don't think it really can. So, yeah. And to me, it's like a lot of the talk about Jason Tatum has acted like he's going to come back and be Jason Tatum. And I fear that whatever he actually looks like is very far away from what a lot of people are expecting. Like, torn Achilles are super unforgiving. Extremely unforgiving. They reshape careers. Guys certainly don't normally come back and play like themselves right away, especially within 10 months, whenever he would return. So I think there are a lot of questions about the possible return, and just, not only can he play in the regular season and how does he hold up, but like this team could go on a deep playoff run. What's he going to be like? Like, can he go a duel with Cade Cunningham in the Eastern Conference Finals? Is that possible? Or are you hoping to get like 20 minutes out of him and he's reasonably productive, but nowhere near what we're used to seeing from Jason Tatum? The possibilities are very wide. And I don't know what he'll come back like. I don't think anyone does at this point. But I do think the range of outcomes here is very wide. And it's not because of all the stupid discourse about, can he play with Jason Tatum? What's the hierarchy going to look like? That is the dumbest shit ever. Because Jason Tatum, like, on top of being a super gifted guy, he might be the most malleable star in the league. Like, he can set screens, he can play off ball, on ball. He guards centers, he can guard point guards, he rebounds, he does everything. Like, there's no need to worry about how you're going to use Jason Tatum, how he's actually going to fit. He can literally do anything. But my worry is that physically, he might not even be close to what people are used to. And he's already shared some of the mental hurdles that he's needed to get through. And I don't know. I truly have no idea what he'll look like when he gets back, if he does get back this season. And I think anything is on the table. Like, truly anything. Would anything shock you?
Would anything shock me? No, not when you're with this type of timeline on this type of team. I guess what would be the most shocking, I guess I would be a little bit shocked if he's
like Jason Tatum right away.
Jason Tatum, yeah, that would be shocking. But beyond that,
and
anything's in play.
And how long will he need to get there? Because like, it's obviously grueling physically and mentally to come back and then hop pretty soon after that into the playoffs. But let's say he does come back sometime in March. This is just for this hypothetical. If he does come back sometime in March and they do go on a deep playoff run, then you've got March, you got April, you got May, and then maybe into June. That's 4 months. And not 4 full months, but that's time to like maybe look totally different by the time you are deep in the playoffs compared to where you are when you first get back. And I think that's on the table too. Like, maybe he doesn't look great at all when he first comes back. Maybe he's on a very limited minutes restriction. Maybe they just keep ramping him up. And so soon enough, you look up in the second round of the playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals, it's like, oh, he's looking good. And then again, maybe it goes the other way. Maybe it's really fucking hard to jump into the playoffs. And maybe his body deteriorates a little bit because he's not ready for the physical rigors of a playoff run. I don't know. I'm not claiming to know, but it's a huge variable for the Celtics right now in this season that's so promising and has produced so many great things already. So yeah, Jason Tatum, number 1 pick. Not the biggest shocking. Not the biggest shock.
I'll say this to wrap on Tatum. Where the work they've done so far from a standing standpoint makes this, I think, an easier ramp up for Tatum when he comes back, in terms of like, they're a top 6 team and you can kind of roll. Do they want to be the 2 seed in the East? Of course. But I think you let Tatum roll through. Like, it's easier to let him roll through the ups and the downs, and maybe it not cost you a game right there, but like, you play him through a bad night. If you're going the other way, you think it's, I think you
totally disagree here. because you know what this team could be. You know the potential of this team is significant. You know they could potentially go on a deep playoff run without him. Now you bring him back, and let's say, I mean, I wouldn't care about the standings, but I think, you know, when we were initially thinking about him returning, it was like, would they be a 7 seed? Would they be a 9 seed? And then it truly doesn't matter. Like, because even if you get to the playoffs, you're not expected to do much. Like, all these games are going to be high stakes that he's stepping into.
It's a tough schedule.
And obviously you don't need to win every game in the regular season. And like you said, they've built themselves some cushion in the standings, and that's all great. But I also think, like, this is going to be very pressurized. There's nothing like relaxing about what he's about to hop into. So, yeah, going to be tough for Jason Tatum, who's really fucking good at basketball, by the way, and the clear number 1 pick here. Number 2. I'm gonna draft the headliner, and that's Nikola Vucevic. But to me, I'll just keep it with Nikola Vucevic because there are six draft choices here. How do they continue to work him in? How does he eventually start some? Does he start in certain matchups? Does he continue to come off the bench? Is Luka Garza totally minimized? Does Nikola Vucevic like catch fire and all of a sudden in this new team, this new ecosystem where he's not relied on to do everything that he had to do for the Chicago Bulls, is he like this super helpful, super efficient piece where he's knocking down shots and getting easy looks and getting everyone else involved because his IQ is just a really nice fit for this team? Or do they have troubles fitting him in? And, you know, it's tough to start incorporating a post-up guy when you haven't had that all year. And it's tough to incorporate a higher usage big man when you haven't had that. And it's tough to fit all these things, especially like we talked about before, when Jason Tatum's going to come back and you got to try to, you know, readjust yet again. I think Vucevic is going to help. I just don't know exactly how much it's going to be. And not exactly like the Tatum thing, but I do think there's a pretty wide range of outcomes from, oh, wow, this guy clearly takes them to another level. He gives them dimensions that they didn't even come close to having before, to this fit is kind of clunky. His defensive shortcomings matter, and, you know, it's not perfect. So we'll see where this goes. But I think the Vucevic fit and how they use him and how much he produces is going to be a really big deal for them over the last couple months of the regular season and beyond.
Without a doubt. And he comes in here, and I think thought a taste of it, and against the Bulls when they just went back to the single big lineup. Granted, that could have been a lot of that may have been more matchup based than anything else, but Garza was playing damn well, Jay, for a while. So as we've talked about before, that's Vucevic obviously has, you know, the pedigree and a different type of offensive upside and versatility compared to Garza, but this team was playing very well with Garza for a couple months there. So it'll be fascinating to see if they are going to stick with more single bigs, if Garza's just moved out of the picture there because Vucevic establishes himself, or if it does get a little clunky, if there are nights where Garza gets a shot or just gets, you know, some, you know, a stint in the second half, you know, the first half and the second quarter alongside, you know, after both of those guys. So just how that transition goes with Vucevic, I think will have an interesting kind of trickle down effect across the big man rotation entirely, and what direction they're going to go on a nightly basis.
This next one, we're doing snake draft, everybody. We usually do the snake draft. So I get the second and third pick before it goes back to B-Rob for the fourth and fifth. This might be an unexpected pick, but Joe Mazzulla's coaching, can he continue to press all the right buttons? And I think
Still my pick.
he's gonna get tested here. Like the Vucevic fit, like you have to change things about your style. You have to change things about your identity. You might have to go away from Luka Garza, who, like you said, has been good. How do you bring him in? Then what do you do with Jason Tatum if and when he does get back? How much do you play him? How much do you change for him? And obviously, like we talked about, number one, he's an easy starter fit. Number two, he's Jason fucking Tatum. If he's right, you do whatever you need to do. Doesn't matter. You're going to be much better because Jason Tatum's on the floor. That should go without saying. But at the same time, there's real basketball decisions that are going to be made because of all these new variables that this team has. Which, when Jason Tatum comes back, which of the young guys goes out of the rotation? Who sees their minutes shrink? Who is still a part of it? And I don't think that answer is super clear. I think you could make a case for anybody of Ugo, Jordan Walsh, Baylor Shireman to continue playing minutes. And I think you could make a case that any one of those guys should lose some minutes when Tatum comes back. And Vucevic getting in like that's he might play a lot of minutes too. Who knows? But yeah, Joe's just got a lot of, like, he's done every single thing right, I think, this year. From the way he empowered the returners to how he turned all the other guys into maniacs, to how quick how quickly he's yanked guys, how ready they've had to be because of the approach he's taken to this season. He's had guys on edge. He's had guys, he's turned them into one of the better offensive rebounding teams. He's totally changed the way they've played on the margins, especially. And can he keep this no-hitter going? Like, really, can he? And how much more difficult is it going to get when you get into the playoffs and all these new variables like the Vucevic thing and the Jason Tatum thing? How's it all going to fit? I don't know yet, but Joe's got a lot to consider over the coming months. And like, this has been a challenging job, I think, in some ways, and he's literally done just about everything right the whole way through. But they're going to need him to keep batting close to 1,000.
Yeah, this was, entering this year, everyone had the spotlight on Joe because you're going to see him kind of make his mark even more in this team one way or another. And it's obviously he's done it in a way that has gone beyond expectations for most people. But playoffs are still the playoffs. And when even leading up to the playoffs, we talked about in terms of just handling Tatum on a night-to-night basis, once he is able to return, how you deal with him in close games with minutes limits, etc., like all that stuff. Who starts exactly, how you handle that situation, how you handle a night early where he's rusty and just doesn't have it. Like, do you go for the win or do you let him ride it out in those situations just because you want him to build him up to get him ready for the
Who
playoffs?
Closes? Does Peyton Pritchard close every time?
Yeah. Again, you can go down the list. There's a ton of questions on a night-to-night basis, and they have the 5th hardest schedule in the league to close out the year. There's going to be a lot of intriguing matchups, a lot of tough matchups, a tough road trip right out of the gate here out of the All-Star break. So it's Joe's been up to the challenge so far, but it's only probably going to get tougher for him just from a management standpoint from here. My next pick kind of plays into Tatum a little bit, but can they sustain this ridiculous defensive rebounding that has them 18th in the league now, Jay, which is a number that is anyone in the fan base would have been doing cartwheels over after the way they started the first 3 games of the year. Like this, you have a pretty big sample size right now. You have Jason Tatum potentially coming back, who should help a lot in this department as well. So like, can they turn this huge weakness potentially into a mini strength, which it has been for honestly like the last month or so. I think they've been in the top half of the league in this area. So it's been across the board. From Nimi. Vooch is a good rebounder as well that they're adding the equation. So it's like there's a lot of things that are moving in the right direction for this team in this department. And given that this and fouling is their only real weaknesses all year long, if they can pretty much take that away as we enter the second half of the season entirely as a weakness, I think that would be a very, very big deal in terms of how deep this team could go.
Yeah. I mean, their evolution on the defensive glass has been really stunning. Like the first few games, it looked like they were bound to be one of the worst defensive rebounding teams maybe in history. They were just getting pummeled on the glass, and they fixed it. They fixed it. So shout out to Joe, another feather in his cap. But yeah, that's a huge thing. And I do like Jason Tatum should solve some of that. Like it shouldn't be as much of a weakness. He's a great defensive rebounder. All their wings have done a great job rebounding. Baylor Shireman, going back to like his college roots as just a great defensive rebounder, has helped. It's so funny. He's literally the greatest. He has the most defensive rebounds in NCAA history. I believe that record still stands. At least when he finished his college career, he had the most defensive rebounds in NCAA history.
Wow.
And he had the extra year. So he was part of the group that had 5 years, one of the first to have that. But still, for a guy of his athletic profile and his height, just kind of insane. But like all the wings have, like Jalen on the defensive glass has been awesome. Ugo on the defensive glass has been awesome. Jordan Walsh on the defensive glass has been awesome. All those wings have taken it upon themselves to help fix that issue. And their job has been like they really take that seriously. So I do think there's a chance that this becomes a strength, especially with Tatum, like to add another one of the best rebounding wings in the league. So, yeah. And then they might play big sometimes, double big. That could help them. So, defensive rebounding, the unforeseen strength for the Boston Celtics.
And then next for me at number 5, you referenced it briefly, but I'm going to make it an actual pick here. The upside wings, who is able to emerge from the pack when Jason Tatum comes back, because that's not going to be a spot, I think, where there's going to be certainly as much flexibility on a nightly basis in terms of minutes available. A lot of those are going to be gone, especially if Sam Hauser remains in the starting lineup and keeps playing as well as he has been. And so you have Jordan Walsh, who's been kind of the odd man out of late, but had a nice performance against the Bulls heading into the break. Baylor Shireman, I think, has emerged as a Joe favorite in the last month for his pretty much do-it-all play with taking on tough defensive assignments, rebounding, as we talked about. He's hitting enough threes. He's been a good distributor when he's gotten the chance. And then you have Ugo, who has the best net rating on the team with 17, one of the best ones in the league. And still is a the kind of glue guy that you could certainly put on the floor next to Jason Tatum and have that work quite well in terms of taking the defensive onus off him and having him just be a good role guy. But he's also been in a pretty bad 3-point shooting slump. So it's, given how well those guys have played, I'm fascinated to see who emerges out of that pack as like the most trusted guy heading into the playoffs for Joe. I don't expect them all to get chances, but I think ultimately push comes to shove, like one of those guys is going to be in the rotation or on the fringe of the rotation when the playoffs roll around. And I'm really fascinated to see who actually they'll end up being.
Yeah, I would also throw Sam Hauser into that mix. I don't think he's on the same level as those guys, but the entire minute allotment for those guys is going to be really interesting, because when Tatum gets back, all of a sudden that's going to be super crowded. Well, the last few years, the wing has been like barren wasteland behind Tatum and Brown for the most part. It was basically like Hauser and Prey. And now you're going to have Tatum, Brown, Hauser, Shireman, Walsh, Ugo, even Ron Harper Jr. has had moments and looks like a player. And honestly, when you talk to people in the Celtics organization, it almost reminds me of how they talked about Sam Hauser before he really got a chance. Like the whole organization seemed to be pretty confident that Sam Hauser was an NBA player before he ever got a real chance to be an NBA player. And there's just seems to be a lot of confidence about Ron Harper Jr. and what he's done in Maine, what he could do for Boston. Maybe not this year because the opportunity just might not be there, but down the line, I think they do have confidence that he's going to be something. And so it's very crowded, and Tatum is just his return is just gonna minimize a lot of these other guys who don't necessarily deserve to be minimized based on how they've played so far. So, and then you also, like, honestly, like the energy of those guys, and in some cases the offensive rebound crashing, like that to some extent has been the Celtics' identity. Like those guys have helped create that identity, even though they're not the best players on the team. They've helped create that identity. And so Joe does have some pretty significant decisions to make with regards to how he approaches that. And it could be he does it similar, just throws guys in, throws them out, yanks them, and is even more quick with it because there's not as many minutes to go around. Yeah. But who does he trust the most? Who does he trust in a playoff series? I think definitely in a playoff series, I think it could go like we see one series where Ugo seems to be the guy who they trust, and then it's like, Ugo's not shooting well. Throw Shireman out there. Does he sink? Does he float? If he floats, cool. If not, Jordan Walsh. What about you, brother?
Or they're just all out, and you play 8 guys. Like,
yeah,
they don't. Any of these guys are gonna have to earn their way on the court at that point.
Oh yeah,
if we're getting to round 2 or 3 regardless. So we'll see if they're up to the task.
Big moments ahead for all those guys, all of them. Last pick. I should do something good, like something meaningful, like Derek White's shooting.
It's a good pick.
I'm gonna do Derek White's shooting. I was thinking about actually doing the last roster spots because how they approach those. Do they get a player there who they can turn into something? But honestly, that won't be meaningful this year. Like, it just won't. Yeah. And of course, you can find somebody who turns into a player. They've done that a bunch in recent years. But Like Derek, I don't think the 52% true shooting is going to cut it forever. I just don't. They're going to need a little more consistency from Derek White as far as, just shooting efficiency. 32.5% from three, 38.9% from the field. That's pretty low. And I'm not at all saying his impact, like he can impact a game in tons of other ways. Tons. He's, like I said, he should have been an all-star. The fact that he wasn't just kind of speaks to how poorly the voters see the game and how much people value things that don't necessarily impact winning. Or that do impact winning, but not as much as what Derek White does. But, like, they're going to need some consistent shooting from Derek White. And I just think that is going to be an enormous piece for them. And it might just get easier when Jason Tatum comes back. Like, Jason Tatum, Derek White actions have always been just easy money because defense doesn't know what to do. If they go to White, then they're going to leave Tatum open. If they switch, Tatum's got a mismatch. If they don't switch, they either give White a lane or, they leave Tatum open for just a second, and that's all he needs. So that could be that could change everything for him. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility that Jason Tatum comes back and the game is much easier offensively for Derek White. But they're just going to need a little more from a shooting perspective.
These are Derek White's shooting season right now. The numbers are worse than Marcus Smart's final 5 seasons in Boston.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy to think about. Like Smart since 2018 never shot below 33% from 3 and was always around 39%, 42%. There's why I got 1920, the bubble year, he was 37% from the field too, but 34% from 3. But that just speaks to how rough this season has been for him shooting wise. But again,
and he's carrying a totally different load than Marcus Smart was.
Definitely a lot different quality looks he's getting compared to what Smart would be getting on a regular basis. But again, the quality of those looks should change potentially in a few weeks here, so that bodes well. But regardless, you need him to if you want to go. I think a deep run in the playoffs involves Derek White regressing to the mean here a little bit from a shooting standpoint.
Yeah, like you're going to need him to produce consistently if you play Detroit. Like against a great defense, you're just not going to be able to produce to the level that you have or close to it, I think, if you don't get – because it's a totally different formula this year. Like in the past, the Celtics were just like elite first shot team. Like they didn't get you on the glass, but this team is just like less efficient in the first shot. What happens if they can't get as many offensive rebounds in a playoff series? Is that just the end of them? Or is Derek White going to step up and carry them? No, but I do think there's a chance. Like maybe they can just keep offensive rebounding the way that they have been. But so much of what they've done has been like limiting turnovers, crashing the glass, improving the defensive rebounding, and winning on the margins. What happens if you turn it over a little bit more because it's the playoffs and offensive rebounds are a little tougher? You're going to need to have that shot making, and they're going to need Derek White. But did you have any honorable mentions? Any good honorable mentions?
I mean, D. White was going to be my honorable mention, to be honest, and you stole him away. Outside of that, I mean, we haven't talked about Nemi at all.
Nemi's
But
just become solid.
Nemi's just saw but it like him in the play, like what he
Yeah.
That's as big of a test as anyone. Like we know what D White's going to be in the playoffs, shooting or not. Like he's going to be a positive player, but Nemi has not been on the stage at all yet.
I would throw the other two guys in there at center. Garza certainly has been on that stage.
Sure.
And then Vucevic, how much do his defensive limitations matter in the playoffs? How easily are teams able to target him? And how much is he able to juice the Celtics offense at the other end?
Yeah, that's gonna be a fascinating rotation.
Also, can Sam Hauser stay above 40%? That's the one streak that I find the most impressive of anyone's streak. Is that Sam? I guess he's not above 40% right now. He's at 39.2. Can he get above 40%? Like he has in every other season dating back to the start of his college career. I'm talking his G League season, his 5 NBA seasons, every single season he has ever played dating back at least to the start of his college career. This man has shot 40% from three. It's ridiculous. So that is like obviously won't really have a huge impact on whether the Celtics succeed or don't. But can he get there? We'll see. We will see.
The quality of those looks should be getting a lot better too. All these guys, we don't know if the numbers are going to go up, but the shot expectancy will be vastly improved, I'd imagine, by the time April rolls around.
Should be easier. Should be easier once Tatum gets back, drawing all that attention. Whew! A lot of big things coming for the Celtics. It is kind of crazy, like how much they've accomplished and still how much is up in the air for this team. And how much you don't know just kind of relies on when Tatum gets back, what happens after that. And like this team has been so good and it's going to change in a huge way if and when Tatum comes back.
Expectations will be arriving. This has been a fun little story all year long without expectations. But if Tatum comes back, then it's still a fun story. But the expectations. Great expectations.
That was a book, right?
That was it.
That was a book. Cool. I thought so.
Packard would be proud of you.
It was a movie too.
It was a movie too. Yeah, I probably know more about the movie.
I think it was
90s movie. I think
2 different movies, right?
Probably.
I don't know. Who cares?
98 film. Gwyneth Paltrow, I believe.
Just one movie.
Yep. Ethan Hawke. Robert De Niro. Good cast.
Solid cast. There probably were some solid expectations for that flick as well. But that's a bad joke. We gotta go. Love you all. See you soon.
Still bottle, still bottle, still bottle.